You are a jungle expedition guide in the middle of the Amazon, and the day starts before the first light cuts through the canopy. You're up, because you have to be. The group you're leading is still asleep, but this is the only window to check the traps you set before nightfall. The first is empty, the second has a half-eaten fish, the third has movement inside, and you already know the sound. A snake, coiled and striking the moment you get too close. You use a stick to push it out before anyone steps near it later. While you're dealing with that, you notice a fresh trail of ants carving a line toward the food supply, and you have to lift everything off the ground before they strip it clean. There's no time for breakfast. You still need to check the sleeping area for scorpions and make sure none of the ropes or gear were chewed through by rodents overnight. You find one strap half severe, enough to snap if someone relied on it today. By the time you finish, the first people are emerging from their tents. A tourist tries to wander off to relieve himself in the trees, and you have to stop him before he disappears out of sight. Out here, a few meters is enough to get lost. While you keep them together, you're already thinking about the route ahead. The river crossing you plan might be impassable after last night's rain, which means cutting a new trail through thick undergrowth. Your feet are already burning from the skin cracks that never heal in this humidity. Your clothes are wet from the first steps outside. And the pack is heavier than it should be because the satellite phone failed yesterday, and you re-carrying the backup battery and tools. The sun hasn't even risen, and you've already dealt with venom, pests, broken equipment, and people who don't understand how quickly the jungle can turn from scenery to threat. Out here, the day starts at full speed, and you don't get to slow it down. By the time the last tent is packed and the group is lined up, the day is already heavy. The air doesn't move, and every breath feels hotter than the one before. You lead from the front, hacking a path with your machete, the blade bouncing off thick vines and roots that seem to grow back the moment you cut them. Each swing takes energy you can't spare, but there's no other way forward. The pack on your back digs into your shoulders, shifting awkwardly every time you twist, and you can feel the straps cutting into the skin they've already rubbed raw. Behind you, the group complains about the heat, the insects, the mud, the weight of their own bags, and you have to keep moving while also keeping them from slowing to a crawl. When someone lingers too far behind, you have to stop the entire line to make sure no one gets separated. You can't afford to lose track of anyone because a wrong turn here can mean vanishing into the trees without a trace. There's no such thing as a real break. When you stop, you're checking gear, tightening straps, and shooing off ants or curious monkeys that have come to investigate the food. One man sits on a log to rest, and you have to pull him off before he notices the ants already swarming up his legs. The heat builds until it feels like it's pressing down on you, and the sweat running down your neck and chest never evaporates. Your clothes are soaked through within an hour, and they won't dry again until the trip is over. Every step grinds dirt and grit into your boots, mixing with the moisture to chew at your feet until the skin between your toes feels like it's peeling away. The threats aren't always visible. You know the signs of dehydration, the slow pace, the glassy eyes. And you see it starting in two of the tourists, even though you've been telling them to drink water every 30 minutes. You have to ration what's left because you can't guarantee the next river is clean enough to refill from. The dampness that clings to your body is perfect for fungus. And you've seen skin infections spread so fast in this climate that a small sore turns into an open wound in days. Mosquitoes are everywhere, and every bite could carry something: dengue, malaria, yellow fever. You don't get to think about the odds. You just keep moving, swinging the machete, pushing forward. Every hour feels longer than the last, and there's still no sign of the place you plan to camp. In the jungle, the day doesn't drain away slowly. It strips you piece by piece until there's nothing left to give but the steps you're already taking. You are the one who keeps count of people, minutes, and mistakes, and the math never favors you. When a head count comes up short after a quick water stop, the noise of the jungle turns into a timer. You mark the last known point, drop your pack, set the group in a tight circle with the assistant guide, and start a search along the trail with a whistle pattern that means return now. Every minute stretches into risk. Heat builds, water runs low, and the person you are trying to find could already be wandering off the path toward a slope that ends in a ravine. You know the drill because you have done it before. You sweep left, then right, flagging trees with tape, calling at steady intervals so you do not waste breath. When you finally spot the missing tourist, he is 15 meters downslope, stuck on loose soil that will avalanche if he moves wrong. You anchor a line, crawl below him, and guide his feet to firm roots, all while calculating how much daylight you just spent. Back at the group, panic is waiting. Someone is shaking, someone is angry, someone is talking too loud about quitting. You cannot afford to mirror any of it. You speak in tasks. Refill bottles, check straps, single file, keep moving. The next obstacle is a river you hope would be knee-high. Overnight rain turned it into a pushy brown waist-deep channel with debris riding the surface. Two in the group cannot swim. You rig a hand line, wade first to test footing, and plant a second guide midstream as a human post. One by one they cross, faces locked tight, feet slipping on slick stones, water hitting hip and ribs. A pack goes under, and you yank it up before it fills. The weakest hiker loses balance and swings on the rope sideways. You brace, pull, and feel your shoulder flare as you haul him to the far bank. No celebration, only a check for leeches and a quick inventory of what got wet. Later, the trail squeezes against a drop where the ground tilts toward empty air. You cut steps into the slope, wedge a sapling as a handhold, and send people across one at a time. A boot skids and a heel hangs for a second too long. You grab a harness loop and feel the weight of a person settle into your hand before they scramble back to solid ground. Not long after, someone almost steps on a coiled snake warming on the edge of a patch of sun. You throw a stick between Boo and Fangs and guide the line wider, heart rate spiking but voice steady. The group thinks these are close calls. You know they are previews. At camp you tally the day and the numbers stay in your head. Minutes lost to fear, liters of water left, distance to bailout if someone declines overnight. The pressure does not end when fires burn low. You plan the next day with a map and a headlamp, revise contingencies, and set alarms. Sleep comes as a truce you cannot trust because morning will ask the same question again. Can you carry the fear of everyone here and still make the decisions that get them out alive? Every jungle guide carries a mental list of names, dates, and places they cannot forget. Some are written in official reports, others whispered between veterans as warnings. In August 2016, deep inside Brazil's Jau National Park, veteran guide Marcos Pereira was sleeping in his hammock when a jaguar struck. It came silently, clamping its jaws on his shoulder before he could shout. Marcos fought with his machete, striking until the animal released him, but the damage was done. He was airlifted out, his arm amputated above the elbow, his career over in one night. In June 2019, on the Malaysian side of Borneo, German tourist Lucas Reinhardt left his group to photograph an orangutan. He stepped off the trail, planning to rejoin in minutes. Search teams found him 3 days later, only 20 meters from the path, collapsed from dehydration in an area where every stream carried parasites. In November 2013, in the Republic of the Congo, a research team and their guides were caught by a flash, flood along a tributary of the Congo River. A shallow ford turned into a torrent within hours, cutting off all exits. For 5 days they rationed 2 bags of rice, fending off monkeys that tried to steal what little they had left, until rescue boats reached them. In September 2018, near Peru's Madre de Dios region, guide Alejandro Quispe ignored a sore on his cheek after returning from a 10-day trip. Weeks later, the lesion had grown to the size of his palm. It was leishmaniasis, a flesh-eating parasite spread by sandflies. By the time treatment began, his face was permanently scarred, and he covered it with a cloth when leading tours. In May 2011, in Papua New Guinea's Eastern Highlands, a small expedition attempted to cross a rain-swollen river. As the group waded chest-deep, a saltwater crocodile surged from beneath, seizing Porter Jonah Wayne and dragging him under before anyone could react. his body was never recovered. These are not distant tragedies. They are reminders that the margin between routine and disaster in the jungle is paper thin. Every guide knows someone who has lived or died through one of these moments. The danger is not a rare event to fear once in a career. It is a constant presence, waiting for the smallest mistake, and it never needs a second chance. Even when no accidents happen, the jungle finds a way to take its payment from your body. Years of carrying loads that rival your own weight grind your spine down until every step sends a dull pulse from your lower back to the base of your neck. Your shoulders develop permanent grooves where the pack straps dig in, and no amount of padding changes that. Your feet are never the same after the first season, skin swollen and soft from constant damp, toenails thick and warped, blisters forming under calluses. Every morning you tape them just enough to survive the day's march, knowing the tape will peel off in the sweat long before you stop. Knees complain with each climb and descent, cartilage thinning from the endless uneven ground. Your hands never look clean again. They carry a permanent map of cuts from machete work and rope burns, none of which ever fully close in the humidity. Even small scrapes turn dark with the dirt you cannot keep out, and the edges of those wounds stay tender for weeks. Some guides can point to old scars from insect bites that swelled until they tore open, or from brushing against plants whose oils burn like acid. The outer layer of your skin changes here. It stops being smooth and starts being armor, though even that armor fails when the jungle decides to press harder. Your hearing, once sharp enough to track the rustle of an approaching animal, dulls over years of insect droning that never stops. It's a constant wall of sound that your brain eventually learns to ignore at the cost of the finer details. Nights offer no repair. You try to sleep in a hammock or on a mat laid over ground that shifts with roots and rocks. Your body twisting to avoid one pain only to create another. Muscles spasm in your calves, your back locks when you turn, and your hips ache from the weight you carried that day. You wake not because you are rested, but because the darkness has given way to another day that will demand the same from you again. Mornings are not recovery here. They are continuation. The aches that started last week are still there, joined by new ones, until you stop remembering when they began. This is the slow erosion the jungle delivers, not a sudden strike, but a steady dismantling of your body until you cannot recall what it felt like to move without pain. There is no finish line in this job. One expedition ends and the next is already waiting with a different group, a different route, but the same weight pressing down before you even set foot on the trail. The jungle does not care that your knees grind when you bend or that the skin on your feet splits if you walk too long. It does not pause for your sore back or the cough that still clings to your lungs from the last trip. Out here, fatigue is not an excuse. It is a weakness the environment will punish without hesitation. You have seen what distraction costs. A misstep on whetstone. A glance away from the trail at the wrong time. The jungle turns those moments into injuries, disappearances, sometimes deaths. You carry the images with you. The places where people slipped under the water. When you finally return to the city, the noise and lights feel foreign. People there talk about the jungle like it is a backdrop for adventure, a wild beauty to be conquered in a week with the right gear and a good camera. They do not see the scars your shirt hides or the limp you try to mask on the walk home. They do not hear the phantom hum of insects that follows you into your sleep or smell the rot that clings, no matter how many times you wash your clothes. You keep those things to yourself because even if you told them, they would not understand. And yet, as your body rests on a real bed and your hands touch clean sheets, part of your mind is already mapping the next route, checking the season, calculating supply weights. You tell yourself it is because you need the money, but you know it is more than that. Out there, every choice matters, every second is real, and every mistake carries the finality of an answer you cannot take back. This is not a career of adventure. It is a sentence of slow, deliberate wear, carried out one day at a time. And you know that out here, in the green silence between the noise, You walk knowing that any step could be the one that does not let you walk back.